I am a male 28 years old and I am considerably younger than my siblings. My oldest brother has turned 40 years old. He has a teenage son that he has neglected throughout his life. After divorcing his wife and quitting his job in an effort to see the world, he left his nephew, then a preschooler, and I was 16 years old. My brother's ex-wife continued to be a part of our lives, and we tried to support her in any way we could. My brother was back in town for a while, and we decided to celebrate Christmas early so he could be part of the festivities. However, his behavior was puzzling. In our culture, it is customary to address our elders as sir or mom, which is a sign of respect. When my nephew addressed me in this manner, my brother stated that the boy should not show me respect, arguing that I was hardly old enough. I asked him to stay out of conversations that did not concern him, to which he replied that since it concerned his son, it concerned him. This behavior continued all day, despite requests from those around him to stop. After dinner, my nephew began addressing me on a first-name basis, calling me by my first name. I reminded him that we were among people and he was expected to be treated respectfully. He replied that his father had told him that he didn't have to do that. I clarified if he really felt that way, to which my nephew confirmed. I accepted their position, agreeing that he should not address me as an elder. When it was time for the gift exchange, I realized that I had left the gift for my nephew in the car. Everyone ended up exchanging gifts and the evening went well, despite my nephew's disappointment at the lack of a major gift from me this year. The next day, my brother spotted a new toy from me, a handheld computer, compact like a Nintendo Switch, but running a full-fledged Windows OS. This computer was originally intended for his son, but I decided to keep it for myself, explaining to my brother that since my respect as an elder was not recognized, I saw no point in spending money on my nephew. My brother accused me of being reckless and tried to drag the whole family into this discussion, but they did not support him. He tried to get my nephew to blame me for what happened. I, on the other hand, asked my nephew what his father had given him, emphasizing that if the boy prefers to respect only his father, he should expect gifts from him as well. You bear no blame, for you yourself have been told, when it comes to gifts, you should not feel obligated. Since you're a kid, you shouldn't have to worry about buying gifts. If your nephew decides to give you a gift, that doesn't mean he's exempt from common obligations like paying taxes, even considering his age. The same rules apply to anyone in a similar position. If someone is not comfortable with this, it is important to realize that respect matters. The actions of one may affect others, but like any child, no one has the power to change that order of things. In the case of a teenager without his father's support, wanting to win his approval seems only natural. The father, by conditioning approval, creates a difficult dilemma for his son, choosing between respecting himself and seeking the desired approval. In the end, a teenager's choice to disrespect you, knowing that you are a trustworthy person who will not turn on him for a simple mistake, speaks volumes. After all, your nephew is not an idiot, he's just a kid with challenging family circumstances. The culprit here is not him, but adults playing with feelings for their own self-gratification. Your brother, putting his own interests above all else, demonstrates a blatant misunderstanding of the father's role. He is expected to learn a lesson from trying to pit his own child against you, hoping for personal gain. It is important to put your child's interests first without making him a pawn in adult games. You, being older and more experienced, are facing your nephew's rejection problem, which is probably rooted in your relationship with his father. The child is willing to go to great lengths to gain his father's approval and pleasure, but his chances of success in this game are extremely slim. There is tension between the brothers, and the child is drawn into this confrontation. It is important that when the father changes his position, the rest of the family does not blame the child for what has happened. He needs his father's love, even if he does not fully deserve it. The child's decision to choose sides is based on the expectation that when the dust settles and the father changes his attitude, the support and love of the rest of the family will help him cope. Next story. On Thanksgiving Day, an unforeseen incident occurred. My daughter couldn't find her AirPods. Subsequently, after some searching, we found them at my sister's house, or rather, in my nephew Adam's teenage room. He claimed that everything happened by mistake, thinking the headphones belonged to him. When the headphones were returned, they were still in the pink donut-themed carrying clip my daughter usually uses. This is not the first time Adam has gotten his hands on things that don't belong to him. He has previously taken game controllers and toys found randomly. Such actions have become a systematic problem. In my opinion, it was time for Adam to stop this behavior. I explained to my sister and Adam that because of his behaviors, he would not be welcome at my house for Christmas. I don't consider my reaction to be overreaction. I'm just tired of putting up with behavior that has no consequences. Because of this situation, my mother is taking over the organization of Christmas. I have clearly outlined to my family the reasons why I feel it is necessary to address the issue with Adam. My mother and sister feel that I am being too strict with him because of what they consider to be minor mistakes. However, I am really tired of controlling him all the time. My children have had to hear me tell them that they should not bring expensive or especially favorite gifts into the house. I also asked them not to share gifts we unwrap with Adam. Now all gifts go straight to the car to be locked up. This measure makes me irritated because now it seems my kids are being punished for Adam's actions. They are not free to play with their things at Christmas, always expecting that their cousin might take something. I don't think anyone but me realizes how wrong this behavior is. In situations where wrongs occur, it is important to address them directly and correct them without resorting to evasive language. The truth is that if your sister makes a mistake or Adam resorts to stealing, it is important to call things out. It doesn't have to cause upset. If your mother, sister, or Adam is struggling in this aspect, offer them self-reflection. Review their words, actions, and character. You are free to disagree that calling a child a thief is the right approach. Such a label can be detrimental to his self-identity. Instead, continue to discuss it with Adam until he stops stealing. If his stealing goes unaddressed and without consequences, the problem will not be solved. You have the right to restrict his access to your home and teach your children to protect their possessions from him. Warn them of Adam's influence by pointing out the harm he can do to their home and well-being, as well as the risk of imitating his behavior. Kleptomania is the urge to steal objects, often without significant value, but in this case it is outright theft. The case of a niece who stole to fund her addiction shows the seriousness of the problem. After leaving behind 2 daughters, she left them to be raised by her ex-partner and new spouse. Stories like these remind us of the importance of not ignoring the problem to avoid serious consequences in the future. Now I want to tell a different story. I am 34 years old and a woman struggling with the problem of obesity. I am currently actively engaged in weight loss and have already made some progress. However, at the time of writing these lines, I am still facing this problem. In the run-up to Christmas, I plan to visit my brother and his husband who live on the other side of the country. Given my situation, I decided to book an extra seat on the airplane to ensure the comfort of myself and others. Although it seems unfair to me to have to pay for an extra seat, I have reconciled myself to this circumstance. Southwest Airlines is known to have certain policies regarding passenger size. However, after an unpleasant incident with them in the past, I chose to avoid flying with this company. Everything started off smoothly from the screening procedure to boarding. However, after I had settled into my seat, a woman approached me with a little boy barely a year old. She demanded that I vacate one of the seats I had prepaid for so that her son could occupy it. Despite her insistence, I refused because I had already paid for the extra seat for my own convenience. The situation escalated when the woman began to loudly express her displeasure, attracting the attention of the flight attendant. She accused me of occupying the seat reserved for her son, but I presented my boarding passes confirming my right to the extra seat. The flight attendant suggested I try to fit in one seat, but I insisted on my right to use the seat I had purchased. As a result, the boy, who was 18 months old, had to sit on his mother's lap as instructed by the staff. Despite resolving the issue, throughout the flight the woman continued to cast judgmental glances at me and make passive-aggressive remarks. This made me feel uncomfortable, especially given the difficulty in controlling my child's behavior during the flight. It apparently did not occur to her to purchase a separate seat for her son. She was probably counting on someone giving up their seat, paid for in advance. Perhaps she was hoping for availability on the airplane to avoid the extra expense by relying on being able to use her lap as an alternative. This is a prime example of how procrastination can backfire. It is considered unacceptable for a flight attendant to suggest that you sit in this manner. You did the right thing by protecting your rights. However, not every passenger is capable of doing the same, and no one should be put in this situation by an airline employee with certain authority. The flight attendant should be held accountable, and the incident should be reported to the airline. It is impossible to control the behavior of other passengers, but the airline is responsible for the actions of its personnel. Your self-critical attitude toward your own body is misplaced in this story. It is important to strive for health, but your physical features are not a sign of a character flaw or moral vice. We all have our own challenges in life, and you deserve respect for yourself and your body, even if you are not currently accomplishing your goals. If a mother wants an extra seat for her children, she should have acquired it on her own. She has no right to claim the seat you paid for, and you should not be upset about her inappropriate behavior. My next story. I am a girl, 21 years old, sharing a house with my mother and stepfather. My stepfather's family has a daughter, Tia, 30 years old, married, raising 9 children. Together with her husband, they also take care of their 7 cats. Their family has settled in a house that has 4 bedrooms. Despite the spaciousness of the dwelling, there is hardly any free space. My relationship with Tia is limited because she was already an adult by the time our parents were married. Other relatives do not have warm feelings for Tia and her spouse. Over the years, I have had the opportunity to visit their home, which always seemed very messy and crowded. The unpleasant odor of cat urine hangs in the air, and the floors are littered with things so that you can hardly see them. Nevertheless, Tia's children always look well-groomed and clean. Tia and her husband's home is a place of constant work and unfinished projects, which only adds to the chaos of their household. There is always clutter around, which becomes a topic of discussion in our family, especially when it comes to Christmas celebrations. In 2019, when Tia hosted a Christmas party, it caused tension between my mom and stepdad. My mom stated beforehand that she would not go to the party if Tia hosted it, anticipating the inevitable mess. At that party, Tia's husband offered the guests chicken that was undercooked. My mom, noticing this, eliminated the dish to the side, which avoided any unpleasant consequences. In addition, there were no gifts prepared at the party, even for loved ones, although my stepfather had spent considerable sums on gifts for his children. Gifts, though not an obligatory attribute of the party, seemed like a lack of attention at that moment. The situation escalated when, after 2 hours of visiting, we were suddenly asked to leave the house. This happened amidst the anticipation of the arrival of Tia's maternal parents. Despite last year's disagreement, Tia offered her house for the next Christmas celebration. My mom insisted that we spend the day at home, and this time my stepfather agreed with her. My older siblings also expressed their reluctance to visit Tia for Christmas, announcing other plans. Tia, though polite in person, gave vent to her feelings on social media, posting passive-aggressive notes about her fake family not wanting to see her for Christmas. Tired of such remarks, I confronted Tia at the store and, without hiding my displeasure, pointed out the reasons for our absence: not wanting to be involved in their chaos, eating issues, and general disorder. Our conversation quickly turned into an argument, with Tia expressing her opinion that we should have addressed the issues that arose openly as adults instead of avoiding meetings. I felt like I was being unreasonable, as all of the claims seemed obvious and valid to me. Perhaps she is behaving this way because she is unaccustomed to many aspects that are objectionable to others. Providing undercooked chicken that is still cold in the middle is an obvious danger that everyone should have noticed. Potential poisoning of oneself and one's loved ones should be avoided. The chicken becomes the primary reason to avoid a repeat of this situation, while other unpleasantries act as additional factors. The feeling of rapid elimination after 2 hours emphasizes the seriousness of the problem. It is not worth proposing to be a host if there is no desire to organize the reception at the proper level. It is unlikely that anyone will want to celebrate the holiday in such conditions. Tia should exercise common sense in order to avoid embarrassing moments. I disagree, she stated. We should be socializing her like an adult, not neglecting her. She's right, your behavior seems immature. Yes, some things seem obvious, but generally accepted doesn't always mean universally acceptable. I'm surprised no one has brought this up in 4 years. I'm sorry, is what she needs to hear from adults to realize the chaos in her house, the undercooked chicken, and the need to choose gifts for others. She has 9 children and 7 cats spread across 3 bedrooms. If the parents had their own rooms, which I think they would prefer, they would perceive the situation as selfish and rude. You can tell by the reaction of the hosts how they would react to straight talk. I agree with you completely. There is a suggestion that some people naively believe in politely pointing out that gift-giving is reciprocal and that their home is not hygienic, hoping that such remarks will be received positively. But seriously, it is necessary to tell people that salmonella poisoning is bad hospitality. A story that really surprised me. I have discovered that my Christmas gifts will include pots and pans, as well as vacuum cleaner accessories, a refrigerator, and a Costco membership. This makes me sad and irritated, as these things are, in my opinion, household items and not gifts I expected to receive for Christmas. I feel like I am only valued for my skills in cooking, cleaning, and running various errands. Our kids also realize that these gifts are not appropriate for me. Mark and they have tried to hint to their father for more appropriate gifts, but their words have been met with the assertion that what I get should be enough. This frustration is so great for me that I find it difficult to explain why such gifts seem indifferent and effortless to me. Last year, the only gift he gave me was a candle that he took to his home office, and my Christmas stocking was left empty. When I expressed my disappointment with the gifts that started coming home this year, he got upset and said he would return them, accusing me of being ungrateful for wanting to have 1 or 2 gifts picked out especially for me. It makes me feel wrong for not feeling grateful for what he does for me. Not everyone who speaks out directly about your husband thinking of you only as a servant is really wrong. After all, if the gift you receive from him is something that reflects your hobbies or preferences, but only a vacuum cleaner, that speaks volumes. Gifts should ideally be an expression of love and affection, but it seems the only thing he notices is your contribution to household chores, which certainly deserves to be recognized. It may sound petty, but sometimes the response is to give him something symbolic, like not filling his Christmas stocking and giving him a candle instead. If he still doesn't realize the point after that, you can add toothpaste and deodorant to the gifts, emphasizing the need for attention to personal items, perhaps even toilet paper, reminding him of the unpredictability of life. Tell him that a vacuum cleaner would be a great gift if it came with coupons for free cleaning, or suggest the idea of coupons for cooking dinner. My aunt once gave her husband a toaster oven, and his reaction was that he never again gave her household items. It might be worth reminding yourself that if the house needs a new microwave or toaster, what's good for one is good for the other. Invert the gifts by putting his name on them. Remember to buy yourself wonderful gifts and wrap them so that he feels the joy of opening them at Christmas. Thank him profusely, wondering why he hasn't opened his new vacuum cleaner yet and what he plans to cook for dinner tonight in his new multi-cooker.